Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. Our lead story of the day is regarding John Kennedy questioning human rights campaign chief about gender. Wait till we get into it. It is head spinning. If you haven't already, head over to baldbrad.com or Amazon, Walmart, Barnes & Noble. Pick yourself up a copy of my book, Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. You're seeing it in real time, folks. All the links to everything is down in the description. And if you want to support us, hit that join tab. We would love for you to become an American patriot today. Hit that like and subscribe button. Let's go ahead and roll it.
Ms. Robinson, I want to follow up by trying to understand your answer to one of Senator Cruz's questions. And this is really a question, not a suggestion. Do I understand your position to be that there are two sexes, but there can be more than two genders?
I wouldn't even say two, and we've got Dr. Lopez here as well, but there's also the definition of intersex. I think that often in these conversations we're conflating sex and gender, and I do want to affirm here that trans women are women. That is their gender.
Okay, but I'm trying to understand. Do you make a distinction between sex and gender?
Yes, sir.
Okay, explain that. Do you think there are more than two sexes?
I believe that there's a definition for intersex as well that I want to acknowledge. But sex is assigned at birth.
I'm just trying to understand. I'm thoroughly confused. So you're born, I'm talking about biology, male, female, and what else?
I believe that intersex is also acknowledged. But again, I'm not a doctor here. What I can
say, what does intersex mean?
Is that there's a difference between sex and gender. And I think in these conversations, we're conflating the two.
Well,
so now you have to be a doctor, folks, to know if you're a male or female. Can you believe it? This is where we're at in 2023. Same type of answer that Ketanji Brown Jackson said, well, I'm not a biologist. Oh, well, now you have to be a biologist as well. So now you have to be a physician. You have to be a doctor. You have to be a biologist to know what gender is, what sex is. So if any of you aren't a doctor, if you're not a physician, if you're not a biologist, well, you can't tell if you're a man or woman, folks. I guess that's where we're at now in 2023. Unbelievable.
But I want to start with sex. Okay, there's male, there's female. When a baby's born, before the baby has had time to even have a sense of self, there's male, female, and intersex. There's a third sex.
I believe that is true, but I would defer to Dr. Lopez as I'm not a physician.
Okay. And how many genders are there?
I think the gender is expansive, and the definitions are always growing. Today I can tell you, I talk to young people that talk about non-binary as
more than five.
I think the gender is not a binary, is what I'm trying to say.
Are there more than five genders? I'm just trying to understand. Are there more than five genders?
Well, I think that there was a time where women wearing pants didn't feel like it was appropriate for their gender, and yet I'm wearing pants today. I think that there are ways that we express our gender that are expansive.
Are there more than five?
I wouldn't subject myself to naming how many genders there are, but what I can say is that gender is a reflection.
Number?
Excuse me?
There's an infinite number of genders?
I think depending on your culture, there are a lot of different genders that exist. And I can also say that it's a term that's evolving. If you look at young people today, they really don't lean into the binary of only woman and man. So I think that it's incumbent upon us not to legislate on this, but create space for them to explore what their identities are, what their gender identities are.
Let's get back to athletics. I think I understand what you're saying. There are three sexes, male, female, and intersex.
I believe that to be true, but again, I'm not a physician.
And there are an infinite number of genders because gender is a mental state.
Gender is about expression, and I think that there are a variety of ways that you can express your gender.
Okay, so there's infinite number. All right, let's go back to the biology. Male, female, boy, girl, okay? Biologically, do males have an advantage over females biologically in sports?
Again, I'm not a physician, and I can't speak to that.
What's your real-world experience?
It depends. I mean, there are some people who are born male that I'm faster than if I were to sprint against them, and some that I'm not. Some males that are taller than some women, and some that are shorter.
You don't believe that a biological male has a physical advantage in sports over a biological female?
Not as a definitive statement.
Give me an example. Well, no, I don't think. How many females?
It was actually a good catch there by Kennedy, because there are sports in which women could outcompete a man. But in general, by far, in general, a man is going to sit there and destroy a woman in a sport. I think the women's U.S. soccer team not only got beat by a 15-year-old men's team. Again, women's U.S. soccer team, the ones that wanted pay raises and this gender wage gap myth and all this stuff, got beat by a 15-year-old team, and then they got destroyed by a men's league team that was a bunch of retired guys, like 12-0. There's a reason in hockey, I'm a referee, there's a reason why for girls' youth, there is no contact. So whenever the girls play the boys, there's no contact. There's a reason for that, but there's no difference whatsoever. I mean, these people don't live in reality, you guys, and it's tough because you have Kennedy here trying to have a rational conversation with somebody that objectively can't deal with reality around them. They think that there's just an infinite amount of genders. This is mind-blowing. Folks, majority of Democrats, a new poll just came out, majority of Democrats think there's more genders. They think there's more than just male and female. That is where we're at now. This is wild. You're getting to a point, if you can't agree on objective truths, you have no society. It is a crippling effect. So, and thus it would be just a matter of time before other truths sit there and start crippling as well. And now your society's just long gone. There's no recovery from that.
Male members of the NBA do you see?
Well, I can say that, there's been this news article about men that think that they could beat Serena Williams in tennis, right? That they think that they could actually score a point on her.
They can.
And it's just not the case. She is stronger than that.
What's your experience, Ben? Male, female?
Both Serena and Venus lost to the 203rd ranked male tennis player, which they're phenoms for women. My experience, my husband, he swam at University of Kentucky.
It's not just that. Serena Williams herself was on a talk show and said that she would get destroyed by men. Her own words. But this lady over here, she's a little nuts. So this lady here, I think her name's Gaines, has her head on straight. The girl next to her that we just saw is a little out there off in the east, somewhere else. She lives on a whole nother planet than the rest of us.
As well. In terms of accolades and in terms of national ranking, I was a much better swimmer than him. He could kick my butt any day of the week without trying.
Okay. I just think, Ms. Robinson, I'm trying to understand where you're coming from. I think you lose a lot of credibility when you don't concede that a biological male has physical advantages over a biological female. I mean, I just think that's a proven fact, and you really hurt your credibility. I understand you want the world to be a better place. I do too, and I don't think people ought to be discriminated against because of an immutable characteristic. I don't. And I think that I think everybody ought to be free to be themselves. And what
Democrats
you do in your bedroom or what I do in my bedroom with a consenting adult is nobody's business. But if what I do in my bedroom with a consenting adult, if I decide I want to tell somebody's child about it, then other people have rights too. And I think parents have rights. And I think biological females have rights to be able to compete fairly in sport, in sports. So I really think you hurt your credibility when you refuse to acknowledge that biological males have an advantage over biological females. It kind of makes me wonder about all your testimony. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I mean, you guys, it is wild that we are in this day and age with the technology that we have. We're the most informed society that's ever existed in human existence. And we literally can't come to an agreement that there are men and women. That is mind-blowing. And there's people out there that think that men are not physically or having a physical advantage against women. I mean, they've put themselves in such an indoctrination camp of thinking and ideology that they literally can't come to grips with reality here. I mean, there's women out there, MMA fighters that are trained in mixed martial arts that, can kick my ass. Absolutely. But in general, that is not going to be the case. I mean, this is so wild. You know what else is kind of interesting, and I was thinking of when we were watching this together, was you notice the Democrat Party, the ones that espouse this equity and equitable and all this other stuff about fairness, is probably promoting the least fairness agenda upon everybody. I mean, pushing mask mandates upon people, that wasn't fair. We're for free speech, but we're going to censor people that say things we don't like. So once again, they're going against fairness. They also want to put in or have implemented affirmative action, which isn't fair by any means. The fact that you have more of a qualification than the other person, but the other person is of a different race and skin color than you, so they get promoted over you because of diversity, equity, inclusion that they want to push. I mean, have you noticed that? Is that just me? That or if you don't go against their narrative of what they believe is reality, of which it is not reality, then they're going to force you by law to basically push certain pronouns and certain beliefs upon you. And if you don't go by that, then you're going to lose your job. I mean, I could lose my job for not thinking. I only think that there's two sexes. I'm sorry. I'll call you whatever you want just to keep my job, but I don't agree with it. And I don't think I should be mandated by law to call you by a specific thing. I'll call you by your name, but here's the thing. They don't want to be called by their name either. That's for a whole nother story, folks. But let me know what you think about this. The question of the day is, do you think there's two genders, or do you think there's more? Let us know in the comment section below. Well, moving into our next story, this is one that I haven't read, but it's a piece by Brandon Dre of the Daily Wire. And it's U.S. reading and math scores for 13-year-olds declined to the lowest level in decades. Some of you might be new to the Boebert Show. I'm a math teacher myself. I've been teaching. I'm going into my 5th year right now. Prior, I was a public accountant or just in accounting for 10 years. So I still like to think, hey, you know what? I have a kind of an outside perspective of what I've seen change in the education system. And I think a lot of my opinions on this and my viewpoint are productive and also more realistic of, again, yeah, I'm a teacher, but I've seen both sides. My career was not always teaching. So I've seen the outside and I've seen the inside and I've seen how it changed since we were all in school together. So it says here, and I haven't read it, so it says average math and reading test scores for 13-year-olds in the United States hit the lowest levels in decades. That doesn't surprise me, according to a recent National Long-Term Trend Assessment released on Wednesday. National Assessment of Educational Progress, NAEP, officials reported that declining education levels occurred during the pandemic. That's not a shocker to anybody. Everybody expected that to happen. However, the downward trajectory began at least a decade before government officials and school districts shuttered classroom doors and switched to online learning in response to COVID. Again, these declines have been happening for a long time and has been cited in assessment after assessment after assessment. I mean, we knew this even going back to when I was in high school, that assessment scores were dropping. Well, NAEP, which has been monitoring student performance in both subjects since literally the 70s, administered the Federal Standardized Basic Skills Test last fall that showed an average of 256 out of 500 in reading scores and 271 out of 500 in mathematics scores in the 2022-2023 school year. 3 years ago, reading levels were at 260. Again, now they're at 256. While math scores averaged about 280, now they're at 271, so a little bit of a decline. Although the scores represented primarily lower performing students and minority groups, every percentile saw decreased levels. The green shoots of academic recovery that we have hoped to see have not materialized as we continue to see worrisome signs about student achievement and well-being more than 2 years after most students return to in-person learning. Again, this is the National Center for Education Statistics Commissioner Peggy G. Carr said in a news release. There are signs of risk for a generation of learners in the data we are releasing today and have released over the past year. Yes, we all expected this to happen. Long-distance learning wasn't going to work, and so we wanted to put people back in schools. What's interesting is yes, you have the conservative Republican side of the aisle complaining about it, rightfully so, because we wanted schools to be back open. So did I. I wanted to be at work. As a matter of fact, I did teach during COVID in the classroom live. I was not in a public school at that time. Furthermore, it's interesting that the Democrats are all like shocked by this, but they're also the ones that are complaining, but they're the ones that wanted everything to be on lockdown, which is wild. They're the ones that didn't want schools back open. The Democrats did. But they're going to complain about it. Carr said the center observed steep drops in achievement, troubling shifts in reading habits, and rising mental health challenges paired with alarming challenges in school climate. One thing I want to mention here is, even for me, the mental health crisis that is going on is bananas, you guys. And I'm one of those, like, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, get with it. I don't really deal with excuses even on my end. I don't want to say I'm tough, but mentally, I would like to say, honestly, I'm tough mentally. It's like, hey, just deal with it. What are you going to do? Roll on your back and say, woe me, or you're going to figure the damn thing out. Nowadays, that is not the case. And not only is a student just stressed out because they have an exam or something, to give kind of an example, but you have people on the back end that are kind of exacerbating and basically going along with the idea of stress. And so because you're stressed, it's now considered a mental health issue. And because it's a mental health issue, you no longer have to take that exam, and the exam gets prolonged. So you take it like a week and a half later. The problem is that you're just going to stress the kid out more, because not only does he have to study for a test that he didn't study for that entire month, and knowing that the test was coming up for an entire month, but now they have to learn new material on top of learning the old material and expect to perform well, which is not going to help them. It's better, hey, just take the test and fail the damn thing right now, and then learn the new content. Hopefully you can make that up in the back end. So that's one thing they're doing. I mean, the mental health thing, I have definitely 100% seen. We are not building a strong society nowadays. We are coddling these children at home, in sports, on media, in the school system, everywhere. We are coddling these children. If you want to see and read a great book, there was a prior senator of Nebraska called Ben Sasse. He wrote a book called Vanishing American Adult. I highly recommend you pick it up. He does a phenomenal job of explaining what's going on, because adults are vanishing. They've gone so far to kind of try to extend high school to grade 16 because of basically the deficiency in obviously reading and math and other subjects. But you can literally give, I was talking to this with a colleague and also a friend of mine, you can give students an open note test and they will still fail it. It's not an exaggeration. They'll get like a 48% and still fail it. I've seen that in mathematics. I have seniors before in the past that literally didn't know what a circle was, you guys, or a triangle or a square. They didn't know how to draw a straight line. And people always think like I'm exaggerating or I'm joking. I am being as literal as I possibly can. I'm not even saying know the nuances of a circle or triangle, the degrees and all that stuff. What's the area of it? No. I am saying they literally don't know they can't identify a circle, a square, a triangle. They can't draw a straight line. They're not mentally off. We just progress them through the system, and then they just come out on the back end. These people are voting. I have kids that are senior levels that literally don't know how to multiply, you guys. That is elementary school. Don't know what 2 times 2 is. It's wild what we're seeing. They don't know how to work a calculator. Remember how we would starve, we would crave to have a calculator when we were in school. You don't even know how to work a calculator. I'm not trying to hound the generation that's being upbringing, but the school system, it's not the teachers, you guys. It's not like we just sit back and go, figure it out yourself. I'm sure there's some teachers like that. The vast majority, easily 95%, even those that are lefties, Democrats, Republicans, they're sitting up there teaching. The question is what is going on at home? Some school districts are doing away with homework. Some school districts are doing away with discipline. They're doing away with everything. It's basically just babysitting now. I go up there and I teach every single day. Granted, my grades are pretty good, but I have students that fail. The question is, what are you doing at home? When you go to school, day's not over. I know you want it to be, but it's not. The day is not over. What do you get to do? You have to go home and do what? That we all did for literally decades. Homework. You don't practice, you're going to suck at the thing that you're not practicing at. If you had a sport and you didn't practice, are you going to be good at it? You're not. I know this is self-evident, but you guys, if you are parents, and I know I'm maybe preaching to the choir, I hope to have kids one day. I'm going to sit down with them at the dinner table after work, even though I don't want to because I'm tired, especially as a teacher. I don't want to go back to teaching after I get home. You have to help and educate your children. The teachers are there to teach, and we are. That's why the kid has notebooks. If the kid doesn't take notes, you should probably look at the kid and see, hey, are there any notes in there? As the parent, that is your job. The teacher, it is our job to check as well, but you can't force a kid to do something. They're not your children. They're not my children. I'm sitting there to help them. I'm doing the best I possibly can. I promise. There's a lot of teachers like that as well. You're still going to have kids that are going to fail. If they're not going home practicing the reading, what do you think is going to happen? If you're not going home and studying the mathematics, what do you think is going to happen when you have the test? Obviously, they're going to not do well. Obviously. Like, none of this is brain surgery, you guys, but we're treating it as if it's brain surgery. We're treating it as like, oh, we're blown away that kids don't know basic mathematics or basic reading. Yeah. And by the way, you guys, let's be real. Somebody that has pushed this a lot of the LGBTQ stuff is not what's ruining the education system. I don't agree with it. I don't think it should be in the education system, but that's not like what's taking up all our time. It's silly. Okay, we can't be like the person that we just saw in the first segment, thinks there's an infinite amount of genders, and also be that person on the right that's like, oh well, they're just teaching all this LGBTQ stuff. You guys know they're not. They are doing it. Obviously, we talk about it all the time here on the Boebert Show. And again, I don't agree with that. I don't think it should be happening. But that's not what's going on. What's going on? People are not studying. And we have to come to terms and realization as that. Again, as somebody that went from accounting to school, I'm just giving you my observation as somebody that's entered in a new career going, man, they're not doing anything. They don't give 2 Fs because they know they're going to get passed through the system. Everybody knows that. Nobody gets held back anymore, you guys. You're not going to see that anymore. There's no child left behind, even though that was done away with under Barack Obama, right? It was instituted by Bush, done away with under Barack Obama. There are kids that are not getting held back. You want to see a shift in the education system? Start holding kids back, man. Start making them accountable. But parents don't want that. People don't want that. It's the truth. I know I'm venting, it seems like, but I'm just giving you actual facts. What I've seen, I've worked in many school districts. That's what I've seen. According to the center, fewer students engage in reading for fun and forego taking algebra courses since 2012, particularly in Western region of the United States. They want to play video games. They want to stream. They want to do all these things. As a parent, what do we have to do? Reading time, folks. It's just frustrating how, again, it all gets put on the teacher and the schools and the school districts. Oh, you're giving them more money, but the grades aren't getting better. Okay, well, let's shift the conversation. What's the amount of hours of studying that's being done outside of the classroom? If you want more hours of study, if you want more time in the classroom, then condense the school day. I'm fine with that. Got no problem. Condense the school day then. And then we'll teach what we have in the school day. Then they go home and practice. Got no issues with that, but it's just the blaming constantly gets put on like, well, you're not teaching. It's a two-way street, man. You teach the content. If you're not practicing, if you're not going home reading, if you're not doing the mathematics, if you're not doing the science, if you're not doing the stuff at home, and you're spending your time watching TV, going and doing something else, sports or whatever it may be, then obviously you're going to sacrifice your grades for whatever you're doing outside. It's called opportunity cost. Again, none of this is rocket science, but whenever I talk about this, by the way, the education videos I do are some of the lowest viewing videos by far, because people don't want to hear it. It's easy to blame somebody else. You see the Democrats do it all the time. You see the left do it all the time. I don't want the viewers of the Boebert Show, our audience, to be like that. It's pull yourself up, get yourself to grips on what's going on, and figure this ish out. You know what I mean? They keep blaming everybody for everything. I know some teachers are bad. I'm fully on board with agreeing with that. But if the teacher isn't teaching, what I've always said is, can we stop being those turtles that just fall on our shell and go, oh my God, I can't get up. That person pushed me over. Like, get yourself up and figure it out. You have literally the entire internet to find answers and solutions to whatever question that you literally have in life. There's books out there. This whole idea of like, I can't learn because some dude in a classroom or some girl in a classroom didn't teach me something. Then get online and figure it out. Like, what? And by the way, you're talking about high school mathematics. I get if your kid's in calc or something or physics. Yeah, that mathematics is a little bit hard. 100% on board. Vast majority, these are not the kids that they're talking about. These kids are taking up to Algebra 2. That is a joke on math. Meaning that if you are a parent, and I know I'm continually going to the parents, but I'm not there at home with your child. I wish I was to help them, but I'm not. Then what can you do is you can learn that mathematics. You've already taken it. You can't be like, well, I sucked at math. The question is, why did you suck at math? I did too in high school, by the way. I was terrible at math, and now I'm a math teacher. My averages are usually about 85 a year, meaning they're about a B, which is a good average. But I sucked at math, and what I did, I just, started studying around junior year, and I turned my grades around and ended up with a 3.7 GPA in high school. And then I studied my bleep off in college and got a 4.0 on my master's degree. So you can do it. You just got to put in time. And trust me, I put in a lot of hours of studying. That's for damn sure. Way more than any of my friends. Back to the article. NCES Acting Associate Commissioner Dan McGrath said before 2012, the center noticed improvements in math and some in reading since the 1970s. However, middle school students' learning achievements continued declining, lasting more than a decade. Middle school is a critical time for students. I 100% agree by that, by the way. There's a lot of development of the brain. That also continues in the high school, but middle school is a very crucial time. At a time when they are maturing academically as well as socially and emotionally. Then at that point, you need to put in strict standards so when they go into high school, they don't think that they can get away with all these things of like, well, I don't have to do anything. They're just going to pass me through the system. You hold the kid back in middle school, should be in ninth grade. It's a little bit of an embarrassment for them. What happens for students in middle school can strongly influence their path through there you go, high school and beyond. Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona, which I have qualms with, by the way, addressed the assessment in news release on Wednesday, arguing the latest data shows further evidence that the pandemic had a devastating impact. We know this, a devastating impact on students' learning ability. So nothing's going to change. If you want things to change, you have to study at home. It's simple as that. Parents out there, teachers out there as well, help these people, help these students, put in all the effort you can. People ask, Brad, if you have a kid that fails at the end of the day, do you feel bad? Yeah, I still feel bad because I feel like I failed them. My intention is not to fail a student. I want everybody to get A's. But I know I set myself up in a very strategic position. I dot my I's, cross my T's. I put in as much effort as I possibly can. If a student still fails, I don't feel bad on my part. Like, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. The reason why I say that is because I poured my heart and soul to helping everybody. They get to a point where you've put in so much work that the only thing you can actually do to help that person at that point is actually take the test for them, which you're not allowed to do. I would if I could. That's to the extent that I go as a teacher. So do I feel bad? Yeah, of course, as a human being, you feel bad because you don't want that person to fail. You understand the obstacles they're going to have to go through, and life is going to be that much harder, and you don't want that for them. But you also set yourself up going, look, man, I cognitively, strategically have no more answers as to far as what I can literally offer you as services, as what time I can give you. I don't know what more you want me to give you. If you could set yourself up as a teacher like that, there's going to be kids that don't pass, but I've seen it happen. I've seen where you force kids to go from an F to a C. Like literally 5 days before school, missing 40 assignments or whatever. All of a sudden now they're just passing because you're just passing these kids through the system. It happens. Well, let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I'd love to hear from you. Does it seem like I'm hounding parents a lot? Because quite frankly, I am. I'm just giving you a third-party view of what I've seen from going to accounting to teaching. Would love to hear from you. Well, in our last segment of the day, we got impeachment coming, folks. Lauren Boebert, baby. She's putting in the impeachment. Oh, it's happening. It's happening. Heck, you know what? This is a good story, good times. We might as well plug a good book, Trojan Horse: How the Left is Destroying America. Check it out. All the links are in the description below. You can get signed copies at boebert.com. Heck, if you want to go crazy, pick yourself up a mug. Look at that logo, boys. Oh, folks, this is the only mug I own from Bald Brad. I drink it out of it every day. It ain't coming off. I know some of you like Shib and others, Neil, I think Green, a few of you got mugs yourself. Head over to baldbrad.com, pick yourself up a copy, and get yourself a mug too. Copy of the book, get a mug, get a signed copy, a little bit pricey, but folks, you're supporting an American president. Whoa, supporting an American patriot. We're having too much fun this fine morning. So you have this impeachment happening. Representative Lauren Boebert introduced articles of impeachment against President Joe Biden for his unconstitutional dereliction of duty at the southern border on June 13th. Couldn't agree more. Personally, I'm not a big fan of just going after every president. Oh, we got to impeach him. We got to impeach him. We got to impeach him. They did under Trump, and I didn't agree with what they did under Trump. Honestly, even kind of like Bill Clinton, I didn't necessarily agree with certain aspects of even trying to impeach him. I didn't agree with what he did, obviously. But I think it was, I think it was a little bit much from the Republican side of the aisle, and a little bit of the Democrat too, to kind of go after Bill Clinton on certain aspects of it. This one I really agree with because it actually is a dereliction of duty. Joe Biden is in office to execute the laws in the books, and he literally is not doing it. And you can objectively look at that. Here's the issue. As we saw in the first segment, people don't objectively look at anything anymore, and they can't tell the difference between men and women. I mean, they think there's an infinite amount. Like, you could be anything you want. You could be a cat, you could be a wolf, you could be a dog. So when you have people that can't look at objective truths and reality together, like I said, society falls apart at that point. So there's going to be people here that go, no, there's no dereliction of duty here. He's holding up the border. And you're like, you know that there's like 25 million illegal immigrants in the country right now. You've just shit. And first-time voters, by the way, if you give them amnesty, first-time voters overwhelmingly vote Democrat. I mean, you will have a presidency for Democrat Party for like forever in your lifetime. You will probably never see a Republican president ever again. So if those people get amnesty, which is what they're trying to push, see you later. That is what I believe the goal of the Democrat Party is. So the congresswoman made a surprise privilege motion Tuesday evening to force every member of Congress to vote on the matter this week. House Democratic Whip Catherine Clark, Democrat of Massachusetts, oh God, indicated Democrats will make a motion to table the resolution, thereby preventing it from reaching the floor for a vote. That's typical. It's not a shock. It's not a shock because Democrats don't want to wake up to what the hell's going on. Similar to the fact that they don't want to acknowledge that Joe Biden allegedly has money coming from freaking all over places that nobody wants to look under the hood for. Do you guys understand that 17 to 20% of voters would have switched their vote if they knew about the Hunter Biden laptop? 17 to 20%. You just won the election. But you're seeing the suppression of information, which is why I want you to come here on the Bald Brad Show and others. A lot of you said you never even heard of the Hunter Biden tapes that we displayed. Joe Biden tapes that we showed that were leaked. mean, I'm a dude in my closet, and this is nothing against you guys. What is our media doing? I'm not a journalist. I'm some dude that's sitting here with a bald head and a beard, writes books, and does a show on YouTube and out of his closet that's going like, hey, this is some crazy crap. If you haven't seen that episode, folks, we give the full story from 2014 to 2023 here on Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, the whole alleged scheme that's going on with Burisma, Ukraine, the laundering of money. It's wild. Go check out that episode. Full length video. You know what some people commented on? Some people goes, the video's too long. Dude, it's a decades of information. Of course it's going to be long. Like, are you crazy? Do you think the alleged scheme with Joe Biden is a simple thing to just talk about? The dude that's been in office for decades, you think it's going to be a minute-long video? Some people, I'm telling you, man, you try to understand where they're coming from. The same way John Kennedy was trying to understand that lady that thought there was an infinite amount of genders. It's wild. In the same way, we're going to try to understand the Democrat Party here that thinks that Joe Biden did not have a dereliction of duty here of protecting the borders. So Ian Sam, spokesman for the White House counsel's office, there's a joke, claimed Boebert was merely trying to grab attention. Quote, instead of working with President Biden on solutions to issues that matter most to the American people, like creating jobs, Joe Biden thinks that he created 12 million new jobs. This guy's an idiot. So you shut down the entire country and let everybody go back to work. We created 12 million new jobs. Nobody believes that. Democrats don't even believe that. That's how much these people gaslight you. Lowering costs and strengthening healthcare. Lowering costs. Folks, they had a graph just like a week and a half ago that showed an uptick of when Joe Biden took office. So they had before Joe Biden took office, it was like down here. And it showed when Joe Biden took office, and it just went up straight, and it was still higher than what it was even before he took office. They haven't lowered costs for anybody. There's still inflation. They're freaking idiots. They're such idiots and just liars. Extreme House Republicans are staging baseless political stunts that do nothing to help real people and only serve to get themselves attention. Really? Does anybody here on the Ball Brad Show actually believe that nonsense? They're extreme House Republicans. Everything's extreme. It's not extreme what the Democrat Party has done since their inception. You know, the party of slavery, the party of the Ku Klux Klan, the party of sitting there and actually oppressing people of color the entire time the party has been established. And it's from that party that's doing it and still doing it through a metaphorical ideology today, similar to what Dinesh D'Souza and Candace Owens has been espousing. The metaphorical plantation. That's not extreme. It's not extreme that literally have Black Lives Matter and Antifa run roughshod over our cities, causing billions upon billions of dollars in damages, of which we don't have any answers to as to who started it and why, and nobody's in jail for it. You have a president that allegedly embezzled $3 million plus from China, as well as $5 million payments of hush money from who the hell knows into Burisma accounts that was siphoned out each and every month from 2014 to fall of 2015 with Hunter Biden and Archer, his business partner. Like, all this stuff, really, but we're the extreme ones that just sit there and want people to be left alone. The party, the Democrat Party that espouses, free speech and all these things, censors people constantly left and right on big tech. The same people that gaslight you, Hunter Biden laptop's not real, it doesn't exist. It's Russian misinformation, then it's Russian disinformation. Turns out the damn thing was real. Then you get a 1023 form from the FBI that rubs the shoulders of the Democrat Party that says that the form isn't real. Then you have Chuck Grassley standing on the Senate floor saying, I have the document, I've actually read the damn thing. Then the FBI goes, oh yeah, I guess it is real. Really? You're going to call us extreme? You sit there and pushing this January 6th committee that had nothing, yet 40,000 hours of tape, and you showed us 6 minutes of it, if that, out of 40,000 hours, that you actually watched, by the way, because we have the stamps to actually prove that you watched it, and you blame it on your staffers. Really? We're extreme Republicans? Should we just keep going? I can go on for a whole episode just pulling this shit out of my ass. It's off memory of all the crap that the Democrat Party's done, and you're going to call us extreme Republicans for trying to figure this ish out because you don't want to protect the border. We're literally have terrorists pouring across. And you have Alejandro Mayorkas going, oh, we know where they are, Brett, when he's on Brett Beyer's show. Even though the day before, Alejandro Mayorkas was asked by Jim Jordan on the Intelligence Committee, saying, hey, where are these terrorists at? He didn't have a clue. 24 hours later, when he's on Brett Beyer's show on Fox News, still didn't have a clue. Really? You had to have the CDC during COVID-19 move the cages, these camps in which these illegal immigrants are pouring across the border. When you had it at 50% capacity, they were stuffed in there like sardines. This had a capacity of about 150. You have 300 people shoved in these pods. Then you had to ask the CDC to create 100% so that you can actually fit more people in there. And then that still wasn't enough, so you actually flied them to the interior of the country into arenas, which we have photos of. We also have security cam footage, of body cam footage of actual police officers seeing undocumented flights in the interior of the country on these tar mats with no lights on. Really? Should we just keep going here on extremism? Because I'm not hearing anything from the right, really. Oh, the extremism on January 6th. Let's go back to the January 6th thing. What was the FBI informants doing there? With Donald Trump saying, oh, protest peacefully. We're going to blame it on him. When we're seeing literally footage of people with their hands in their pockets shooting the shit with the people inside there. Nobody's running around. Nothing going on inside. Yeah, some people broke some stuff. I don't agree with what happened. I think it was a dark day. I don't agree with what took place. But the picture that was painted was bogus. Just shooting the shit right here, talking to Capitol police officers as the place was supposedly insurrection. Government was being taken over, supposedly. United States government was being taken over. All the while, you practically having a cigarette, just sitting there shooting the shit, flipping through your wallet. Oh, yeah, the weather's pretty good outside. Nothing too bad. Yeah, Trump got voted out. Crazy shit, huh? Yeah, I wonder if the thing was rigged. Can't talk about that. No. So enough of me going off. Freaking A, it's so frustrating. It's such baloney. Such baloney. We don't put up with it here on the Bald Brad Show. Join us, folks. Become a patriot. You're seeing what you're getting. You might as well support somebody that's not going to sit there and BS you to your face. I'm going to give you what I think is right. I'm going to tell you what I think is right. Hopefully not be censored. Look, if we get thrown off here, we're also on Rumble. I try to be careful just a little bit here because, again, this is not my job. I don't do it full time. If we can get enough people to join us here and basically like fund ourselves, then yeah, I'll go full blown. But, got to make money outside of this, folks. I got to live. I got to eat. Instead of working with President Biden again on solutions, he's going to push this whole knucklehead thing. So under the first article, we're going on forever, but folks, it's a podcast. I hope you're enjoying. Again, hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Pick up yourself a mug, drink some coffee with us. We're hanging out together. We got an awesome community here on the Bald Brad channel. We're only growing and we will grow. We're not giving up, folks. We're not giving up on the country. Some people might have done it. Under the first article, Boebert noted that Biden has intentionally facilitated and complete and total invasion of the southern border. 100% correct. 120,000 troops invaded Ukraine. I think it was on February 24th. I said it was an invasion. Granted, they had weapons. We have 5 million people that we know of under the Biden administration coming to our country illegally. No invasion. So 120,000, 5 million that we know about. It's more than 5 million, by the way, just under the Biden administration alone. It hasn't been 4 years yet, you guys. Terrorists have come across, violent gang members have come across, have killed people, by the way, literally killed Americans, have raped little girls multiple times. There was a 7-year-old that had like 60 DNAs inside of her. But it's not an invasion, you guys. They're all great people coming across. All of them are great, 100% of them. There's not a single bad person that's coming across that wants to hurt you and your family. Having knowingly presided over an executive branch that has continuously, overtly, and consistently violated federal immigration law by pursuing an aggressive open borders agenda. The resolution further states this. Check this out. Number 1. Purposefully and knowingly released more than 2 million illegal aliens into the interior of the United States without the intention or ability, by the way, to ensure that they appear in immigration court. There's literally a case that Joe Biden and the Biden administration wanted to keep in the lower courts because basically the idea and the policy that they want to try to push is to allow illegal aliens into the interior of the country without court dates. That's what they want. The ones that were getting court dates, by the way, when Title 42 expired like a month or two ago, is the court date upon that day that it expired was for 2027 and 2028. You guys, it's 2023. You think these people, that's how many years are you going to siphon money from the taxpayer? It's about $180 billion per year on illegal immigration. That's going to go up. We're looking upwards about $200 billion to $250 billion a year on illegal immigration now. So 4 years of that court date, that's $1 trillion. You know what you could build with $1 trillion in this country? Talk about wasteful spending. 2, ended the Migrant Protections Protocol to require aliens seeking asylum to remain in Mexico while being processed by the Department of Homeland Security. I don't know if that one's going to hold up because when Title 42 expired, they realized that Title 8 wasn't really going to work in the way that they thought it would. So Trump had this policy in place. This, I believe this is the protocol that she's referring to. Hopefully I have this correct. At least there was a policy that Trump had where you had to seek asylum in some country that you're traveling through before you actually come to the border itself. Joe Biden got rid of that. As you've seen, millions of people pouring across the border. So when Title 42 was instituted, they actually implemented Trump's policy back in, but they didn't call it Trump's policy. They just put in what's called a rule. They just put in a rule, or they implemented a prior rule is what they're referring to, because they can't say the word Trump because, they call Trump a racist and a xenophobe and all these other things. Excuse me, a bigot, all these other things for what he did. So if Joe Biden does the exact same thing, he's not racist anymore. You guys. No, it's not racist that Joe Biden does it. No, of course not. Number 3, refuse to cooperate with state and local law enforcement officials in securing the border. That 100% is true. To go back to number 2 really quick, again, the reason why I don't think that's going to hold up is just because of what Joe Biden, the Biden administration implemented by re-implementing Donald Trump's policy. Hopefully you can connect the dots. I didn't do a great job of explaining that. Number 4, allowed illegal aliens to enter the United States as asylum seekers despite knowing they did not qualify for asylum. That has happened bigly. There's a lot of people that are claiming certain things that are getting pushed through the system that don't meet the requirement. A lot of them don't meet the requirement. Don't even mention the gotaways they're getting through. Under the second article, Boebert noted that Biden has abandoned his duties to ensure that the laws are faithfully executed and upheld by presiding over an executive branch that has continually, overtly, and consistently refused to enforce the nation's immigration laws and secure the border. Adding that the president has endangered the security of the United States and the health and safety of the American people. Yes, you know who's also coming in that they've caught is obviously you have the people coming from Mexico, but also South America, but other nations across the globe, China, Afghanistan. We did an article on that about, like 2 weeks ago, maybe. China right now is trying to build land next to our military installations. So if you're having unvetted Chinese come across the border, you don't know if they're a spy. I hope that they're not. I hope they want to have a better life here in America and assimilate to our creed, to our Constitution. But we don't know who they are, and that's the problem. Not everybody that's pouring across is good. People want to do harm to this country because they don't like it. China is building a secret spy base that the Biden administration just figured out, because the base has been being built for like 4 years in Cuba. Right off the coast of Florida. He's doing the best job he can, though, you guys. Doing the best job he can. The sad thing is there might be some truth to that because he's not up here. He's not up here. For those that are audio, I'm pointing to my head. This is not working. Hasn't been working for a long time. If your car doesn't work that well, it's probably doing the best it can to keep running. I know it sucks, but it's doing the best it can. Joe Biden doing the best it can to keep running, but it sucks. Democrats will still vote for it. Democrats look at Fetterman. Ain't working. Gets in. Joe Biden wasn't and ain't working. Gets in. Feinstein, not working. Still in. Nancy Pelosi hasn't worked in decades. Still in. Now you see the constant theme. I mean, how many Republicans can you name that have a cognitive disability? I'm not hounding them for having a cognitive. It's sad as hell. I don't wish it upon anybody. But how can you just list out, like, just randomly like that? Like, how many people are like, bro, yeah, you have a severe cognitive deficiency. If a Republican does, I'm more than happy to say, yeah, that guy shouldn't be in office. He's literally not capable of making connections and doing the job. Doesn't need to be in office. I like to have linear logic. I know sometimes I don't, and that's why I do the show, to sit there and figure out where's my logic not linear and how can I improve on all that. But I think a lot of the time I do. You guys are there to correct me. Wild stuff. Wild freaking. We're not done. Oh, we're not done here. So again, we're talking about under the second part of the article. He's not upholding the health and safety of this country. Boebert said in a statement last week, Joe Biden is unable and unwilling to faithfully execute the office of the President of the United States. Oh yeah, that's for damn sure. To preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution, it is imperative that the House of Representatives impeach Joe Biden and hold him accountable for his egregious violations of his oath of office. I mean, this is probably one of the closest things you could get to a president not upholding his job with what's going on just with the southern border alone. To impeach a president, lawmakers must make a case showing he has committed treason, bribery, and other high crimes and misdemeanors. In Biden's case, the House, currently controlled by Republicans, would vote to have him impeached. If a majority of House votes in favor of pressing charges, the Democrat-controlled Senate must consider them at a trial, with the House prosecuting the case. 2/3 of the senators must agree to convict, which isn't going to happen. Otherwise, the president would be acquitted. Notwithstanding the implausibility that the House would vote to impeach Biden, Boebert intimidated that there may yet be hope for Democrats coming on the side for the sake of the country. I think I had that wrong, having trouble reading this a little bit. kind of far away from me. But nonetheless, you have kind of what's going on here. We'll see what happens. I think there's a strong case with the kind of maybe the high crimes if something comes out with Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, the laptop, and kind of the alleged money laundering that's taking place here. You got money coming from freaking China. Makes you wonder with the Iran deal under the Obama administration, what happened with that, where $1 billion went to them. I mean, you have money coming in from China in the same province that Hunter Biden had business dealings in, when our reserve for our oil was being siphoned because Joe Biden doesn't know how to run the country, and he was shipping oil to that province in which Hunter Biden had his business dealings with in China, and they bought the oil from our reserve. But nobody wants to look under the hood on that. It's amazing what's going on. I mean, we long show today, 45 minutes. I mean, we can go on and on. If you guys want me to continue to go, if you want to hear me ramble, we could do it. The problem is I don't know how many of you want to hear the rambling, but there's so much uncovering here that we could get into. That's the thing. But do we have the, I don't know what the term is. Do we have the focus for that? Because Joe Biden supposedly has laser focus too, you guys. There's Joe Biden's focus, and then there's our focus. We can make these 2 hours long and really unpackage some serious crap. Like I said, we did almost an hour-long full story of Joe Biden and his business dealings going from 2014 with the Burisma, the natural gas company, with Archer and Hunter Biden at the helm of the board, to 2023, and some people said it was too long. That's all we talked about, by the way. About the FBI, the Form 1023. We did a lot of stuff there. People said it was too long. That's the type of stuff I want to do, by the way. Unravel these stories, make connections with all of you, do kind of maybe some investigating. It takes a long time to do that. But I had a lot of fun on that episode. It was a really high-viewed episode. We had almost 800 views. Normally, we get about 200, 300. So if that's something you guys are into, let me know. And if you want me to do a story that you want me to kind of unpack that maybe doesn't make sense to you, let me know. I'll spend the time to do it because I had a lot of fun creating that. We had to take a day off to do it. I had to spend a whole day kind of gathering all that information, understanding it myself to present it to you. But if you want, let me know if you're interested in that. What I found is a lot of people kind of want those shorter segments. I would rather, and the intention of this podcast, if you look at day one, has always been to do an hour-long or more podcast. That has always been the intention of the show. What we found through our analytics was people they don't have that attention span anymore. We kind of lost that. Me, on the other hand, I listen to about 5 or 6 podcasts in each day while I'm working or doing something. I'm listening. But enough of me rambling. Head over to baldbrad.com, Amazon, Barnes & Nobles. All the links to everything is in the descriptions below. If you want to hit that like and subscribe button, we would love for you to join us. Phenomenal book, you guys. I'm not just bragging about it because I wrote it. I wrote a book that I would have wanted to read that destroys the left and the Democrat Party. You get it right here. Proceeds go to me. You're supporting an American patriot that loves this country, that's trying to expose the progressive left and pockets of the Democrat Party here. If you really think that we've earned not just a like and subscribe, as well as a comment down below, heck, think about joining us. $4.99, $9.99 a month. We would love to have you become a patriot. You can join us in the live chat with everybody else that has the badges. With that being said, I'll see you tomorrow here on the Boebert Show.